Hey, it's Roy Calvin, and this is episode 21 of You Don't Know Anything About Women, where I read some posts from Reddit looking for dating advice and give them the real advice that would get me banned if I were to post it on Reddit. Let's get into our first post. Am I cooked if I don't like texting? I'm 26 years old and I've had 2 serious relationships, both about 9 months long, at which point I get really tired of texting all the time, but both women didn't want to stop, so I ended the relationships. So I've tried to screen for this kind of thing, and I found that every girl has either 1. Gotten mad at me after date 1 because she expected me to text her but I didn't, or 2. Lost interest after a few dates and said I wasn't boyfriend material because I didn't want to text, or 3. Seemed interested in person but didn't want to go on the first date before the talking stage. All of these women I met in person, of course. At this point, it's been 3 years since my last serious relationship, and I'm beginning to think that screening out women that don't want to text means screening out everyone. That's a short post, but there's actually a lot to break down here, and I'm going to get into the comments later where the guy gives some more information. First off, you say that your 2 serious relationships were both ended by you because you wanted to stop texting so much and the women didn't want to stop. And that's something that I just don't understand at all, because who's forcing you to text? I don't understand. If your girlfriend texts you, then you're not obligated to reply right away or to get into a big discussion about everything, which is kind of the vibe that you're giving me, like, oh, she texts me, so goddamn, I need to text her back right away, and then we get into a big conversation all day, and I don't want to do that. But you can control the frequency of the texting, and that's something that I don't see anybody in the comments pointing out. And also, this is something that needs to be done from the beginning, because I understand that if you've been texting with your girlfriend every day for the first 6 months of your relationship, and then you suddenly say, you know what, let's text less, I don't want to talk to you as much, that's a recipe for disaster. I understand that, and I'm somebody who doesn't like texting either, but you need to set the precedent from the very beginning. But if you don't set it from the beginning, I still think there's a way to deal with it and you're going about it the wrong way. Like, it seems that you're sitting down with them and telling them, let's text less. Don't even do that. If you get into a relationship and then a few months later you think, fuck, I'm tired of this texting, then just text less. It's not that bad. You seem like you're replying to them in like 10 minutes or something, but you can just start replying in 1 hour and a half, 2 hours, and then just that alone will decrease the frequency of texts. But again, because you haven't set that precedent from the beginning, the girl will probably get kind of suspicious, be like, what's going on? Why does he not text me so much anymore? Does he not like me? Is he cheating on me? So it's not that it's unsalvageable, but it's always easiest to start right from the beginning. And we're going to loop back to this whole breaking up with them because they don't want to stop texting when I get into the comments in a few minutes. He says that he now tries to screen for this type of thing when he meets a girl. So he says that they either get mad after the first date because he wanted her to text them, but he didn't, which is good, by the way. I applaud that. The fact that they get mad because you don't text them is actually like a good thing in my mind, because it shows she's really, really interested in you. Like, she likes you so much, but you didn't text her the next day. And now she's like, God damn it, why don't I get a text from this guy that I like? That's a good thing. We can use this to our advantage. And you say some girls lose interest after a few dates because you don't want to text, so you're not boyfriend material in their mind. Like, what is happening here? Are you having a big conversation about how you don't want to text? Like, hey, I don't want to text that much, so you need to leave right now if you're not okay with that. Is that what's happening? Because I don't really understand how it can come to the forefront of the conversation like this. Do girls text you and then you don't reply to them at all? And then they say, well, you're not texting me back, so I don't want to continue anymore. That is something I would consider to be not texting enough. Like, if a girl texts you something that's worth replying to, then yeah, you should reply. It just doesn't have to be in 10 minutes. It can be in a few hours, like I said. Now, for me, this actually is something that comes up fairly often on dates for me, because I do want the girl to know I'm not going to be texting them every day and that I prefer not to text. I prefer to meet up in person and then talk about things. So I totally understand where you're coming from, but I don't put out like an ultimatum of, hey, I hate texting, and if you text me, this isn't going to work out, so let's agree right now to not see each other again. I don't know if you're doing that, but just again, like, it's kind of the vibe I get from your post. Something that I often do on dates is ask the girl what kind of guy she likes, and usually that will cause her to ask me what I like in a girl. So I'll usually respond with something like, yeah, I like a girl who gives me some space. I don't want to text with her every single day, just something like that, something simple, so that she understands, oh, okay, he's not going to be texting me every day. Let's go down to the comments here. The top voted comment is a woman saying that you should text the girl 1 to 3 times per day. And she says that it doesn't feel like too much that way, but sets a precedent that you're still interested and consistent. Now, I say all the time on this podcast that women on Reddit are not the type of people that you want to be taking dating advice from. And it's true in this case as well. 1 to 3 messages per day seems like so fucking much to me. I cannot believe how often people are texting when I read Reddit posts. It seems like a lot of people are just texting all day, every day with the girl they're dating or the guy they're dating, whatever. That's just so much for me. I try to limit texting to setting up plans and nothing more. And if I've got a girl that I've been hanging out with for a few months or whatever, and I just see something in my normal day that makes me think of her and relates to her, something that she likes, then sure, I'll send that text message. It's not a big deal. But yeah, I think often after a first date, even if it's a first date where we have sex, I'm usually not going to send them a message until I'm setting up a next meeting, which oftentimes for me is like 2 or 3 weeks later, not even the next week. So I really think you feel like you're obligated to text way more than you actually are, and way more than you need to be successful in dating. The next top-rated comment is someone saying that it shows you have a personal problem because you broke up with girls just because they didn't want to stop texting with you. And they say that there's got to be more to the story here, which I kind of agree with. And someone says that he needs to do some self-work. Now, here's a huge problem. See it all the time on Reddit. The original poster replies saying, "Perhaps I need to do some self-work. What would you recommend I tell a therapist?" You don't need a therapist. Therapy is so overprescribed, and especially on Reddit. A therapist cannot help you with dating. Someone else replies saying there's a deeper rooted communication issue here. If the only reason you broke up with them was because you hated the way they wanted to communicate, I definitely see that you need some self-work done. And the guy replies and says that he felt like texting all day was a part-time job. I totally understand that. Again, you do not need to text them all day. That's a great way of putting it, actually. It feels like a part-time job. That's why I don't like doing it either. And both wanted to stay together, so he had to be the one to end it, which again is like a huge overreaction. But he then mentions again, if I speak with a therapist, would I just tell them what I said to you? Or are you suggesting something other than therapy? I'm suggesting something other than therapy. You can adjust this. You don't need therapy. You can start dating girls again and having success. You're getting dates here, which, by the way, is a huge problem on this show. Like a huge problem is that just guys can't get dates in the first place, or they get one date and they do everything they can to cling onto this one girl and they just overthink everything. You have the dates. So you've got to set the precedent from the beginning that you're not going to be texting every day, whether you just simply mention it casually on the date, like I said that I do, or just if she starts texting with you, leave some buffer space there. Take a few hours to reply. If she ever brings up, hey, why do you not text me back right away? Oh, I'm busy, I had work, stuff like that. There's also another comment here saying it just takes a couple minutes per day to send a few text messages. Yeah, it can be a few minutes, but I understand the mental load that it takes to engage in a conversation that you don't really want to be in, even when it's with a girl that you're totally interested in. So that's it. It all boils down to you can set the tone from the beginning and you don't need to text girls this much. Okay, let's go on to the next post for this episode. What do women find attractive? I'm currently 20 years old and I get so nervous whenever I talk to women and I try to make it not show. But when it comes to talking with women, I'm never sure how to speak to them without sounding like either a weirdo/creep or a douche. Like in terms of physical attractiveness, what would y'all recommend? I'm not too fit, but I'm working on it. Also in terms of personality, what do I do with that? I'm honestly not really a funny guy, but I try to be kind to everyone, and I feel like this makes me seem like a boring guy. Also, I don't talk to women with the intention of dating them. This is a really high-level question, not really about this guy's specific situation, but it's just good to talk about this every now and again. What do women find attractive? I don't know that anybody in the world is capable of answering that question perfectly. I'm sure not, but I'll try to answer it. I'll try to answer what's worked for me. First of all, your face. We need to address the elephant in the room. Your face. Your face is probably the most important thing for women to find you attractive. Maybe when I was younger, I believed more of what coaches in this space say about your looks don't matter and anybody can have success with women, which I do believe anybody can have success with women. But my God, of course, if you're attractive in the facial area, you're going to have a lot easier of a time. But I myself am not a 9 out of 10 or anywhere near that, and I've still had success, so it's definitely overcomeable. It's just, of course, guys who have a better face and maybe are tall are going to have an easier time. That's all there is to it. But the things that I think have brought me dating success, despite not being strong in that area, one is definitely confidence. You need to seem like you understand what you're doing and that you're entitled to be talking to this girl who's in front of you. So it's not good that you say you get nervous whenever you talk to women, but it's also a totally common feeling to get, especially if you're new at it. I felt that way as well. I've done thousands upon thousands of cold approaches in my life now, but of course, the first 20 or 100 or 200, I felt much more nervous than I do now. So you can definitely build up your confidence by talking to more and more. You say you're not sure how to speak to them without sounding like a weirdo or a creep or a douche, and that further shows a lack of confidence to me. You feel like you can't go up to a woman and say whatever you want without being labeled a weirdo or a creep. I get the impression that you think if you walk up confidently to a girl and start talking to her and being flirtatious, that you're going to be labeled as a douche. In which case, you need to come over that label because you might have to become what you think in your eyes is a douche. I used to think that before I had a lot of success with women too, like guys who have this kind of confidence who talk to a lot of women and get them like, oh, he's a douche. I think it's just a way to try to knock other people down who have what you want. As for feeling like a weirdo or a creep, I think 99% of guys can go up to a woman and not be a weirdo or a creep. I guess some do without realizing it, and that's a big problem that they need to work on. But if you go up with good intentions and you try to start a conversation with a woman, you're not being a weirdo or a creep. Now, could the woman think that in some situations? Yeah, sure she could, but who cares? That still happens to me. I'm sure some girls that I approach think that I'm a creep. But I have the conviction that I'm a pretty normal guy and I have the best of intentions when I go up to this girl. I'm not doing anything creepy and I know what I want from her and I know that she's going to enjoy the experience too if she comes out on a date with me. And if they interpret that as, oh, this guy just came out to me and told me that I looked cute and he's a total creep, well, that's their problem. I didn't do anything wrong. And if you approach 50 girls and 49 of them think that you're a creep and one of them gives you her number and you get her out on a date and then you have sex with her, to me, that's worth it every fucking day of the week. If I get rejected from a girl who just isn't interested for whatever reason, you know, she thinks I'm ugly or whatever, she has a boyfriend, or it's because she thinks I'm a creep, like, I really don't care. A rejection is a rejection. This kind of goes back to the face thing, but you ask in terms of physical attractiveness, what would you recommend? Well, I don't know what you can do because your face isn't something that you can change. Our face is our face, and it's just kind of, we're all bound to the limitations of our face in some way. You say you're not too fit, but working on it. Well, keep working on it. You can't be fat. I mean, you can be fat and still have some success, but it's just like the face thing. If you have a really nice face, you're going to probably have an easier time than someone with a really bad face. If you have a nice body, you're probably going to have an easier time than somebody with a shitty body. And I say that working out and having some kind of muscles gets you to the bare minimum. It's not an advantage in the dating scene. It's just something that girls expect. So if you have a shit body, whether you're fat or too skinny, you're starting at below zero. It's kind of like you're not even in the running. Again, there's exceptions to every rule, but this is how I think about it. Regularly going to the gym and getting a healthy body where you have some muscles and you're not really fat, that in my mind just gets you to the bare minimum acceptable level for women. It's like, okay, now I can start seeing him in some fucking realm as a potential partner. So keep working on that. And you also ask in terms of personality, what do you do with that? You're not really funny, but you try to be kind to everyone, might make you seem boring. So back to things that work for me. Yeah, being funny is definitely up there for me. Some girls like it more than others. Sometimes I can take it too far, and after the interaction think, fuck, I shouldn't have said that. I was trying to be funny. I kind of knew that that girl wouldn't understand this type of humor or this joke that I made, but I said it anyway, and it might have derailed everything. But I don't know, be funny. Everybody has it within them to try to be funny somehow. So try that out, push boundaries, make mistakes, say something that you think might be funny to this girl. Maybe she'll laugh at it. Maybe she'll fake laugh at it. Maybe she'll think you're weird for saying it, sure. But try to be funny. And again, just accept that some girls are going to think you're weird no matter what you do. Final thing you mentioned there is that you don't talk to women with the intention of dating them. Well, I'm not really sure if you're saying that because you think it's a good thing that you don't talk to them with that intention, or you think it's bad to talk to them with that intention and therefore you don't do it. I think it's good to talk to them with that intention. You don't need to be overt about it, but I think it is good to have that vibe when you start talking to them. Like, I think you're attractive and I do want to date you. Again, not saying those words explicitly, but have that in the back of your mind when you're talking to the girl so that she can kind of pick up on the vibe that you're sending out there. And someone in the comments calls him out on this and says, to answer your question better, if you don't talk to women for the intention of dating them, what are you approaching them for? And the guy replies with, I didn't start thinking about relationships until just recently and also don't have friends. A lot of people say that it's good to start out as friends and see where things go from there. I don't believe that at all. That might work if you're part of a friend group already and there's girls around. Maybe it is better to not ask them out the first day that you meet them, right? Maybe it is best to keep hanging out with that friend group and eventually ask her out. I don't know, because that's not really how I do my dating. But I would say that's a total waste of time. And when you go up and talk to a girl, she knows, she can see that you're a man. She knows your intentions. She knows that you probably don't want to be just friends. Now, some girls are clueless and they might not pick up on that. But most girls have that minimum level of understanding of, this is a guy and probably at some point he's going to try to ask me out on a date, or the reason that he's talking to me right now is because he finds me attractive. So I wouldn't recommend talking to girls with this facade of, oh yeah, let's just be friends and see where it goes. No. If you approach a girl, talk to her for a while, get her number, text a little tiny bit, and then ask her out on a date. Don't waste your time trying to be friends. All right, we're going on to post number 3 for this episode. I'm 33 years old and recently single and can't help thinking I'm getting old. I've just come out of back-to-back relationships, my last being a bit of a shit show. I don't know what it is. Maybe societal pressure? Am I putting pressure on myself? Maybe the realization that I've gone through 2 relationships in the past 4 years and they haven't worked out. I feel like I'm now getting old and almost running out of time if I ever want to find someone to have kids with and be happy. Although, if I'm totally honest, I'm not sure that's even what I want for myself. I've always been a fence sitter when it comes to the topic of having kids. Without trying to sound like an idiot, I objectively look the best I ever have, in the best shape I've been in, 6'1", financially secure, own a home and a decent amount of stocks, charismatic, good-looking, extroverted, and live in a big city in the UK. But I can't shake the feeling of pressure that I'm running out of time. I don't know where it comes from. My parents never pushed me to do anything that I don't want. The happiest I ever was around 28 years old when I was single and just enjoying my own company. How do I get back there? What does dating as a guy look like in his 30s? I see everywhere online that dating is now a shit show. Looking for a bit of advice to put my mind at ease, enjoy the present, and make the most of this situation I'm in. The advice I'm going to give you is different than what everyone in the comments is saying. They're all saying that you're still young. Most people don't find their lifetime partner until after 30. You've probably got 40 years left on average to find a lasting relationship. Someone saying 33 years old isn't really old. And oof, really sad comment here. 35-year-old female saying, no advice to give, but I'm completely tired of being single and more tired of dating, so I got a puppy instead. Yikes. She's probably going to regret that. She probably wants kids, but now she gives up and gets a puppy at 35. That's a story that I see more and more often. She says that she's deleted all of her dating apps because the puppy is taking all of her time and it's a 10 out of 10 decision. Again, that's just like a really sad story to me because I think most women do want kids, but at 35, it's kind of getting up there and she's just given up and said, yeah, I'm going to have a puppy instead. These are the kind of situations I think about when I invite a girl out who's 27, 28, whatever, and she either doesn't reply to the invite or maybe comes out and has a bad attitude or just tells me she's too busy to come out, anything. Because despite my success, as I've said many times on this show, more girls reject me than come out with me. So those girls that reject me, I just think, wow, okay, well, probably at 35, they're still not going to have a partner and they're going to buy a puppy. I hope they're okay with that decision to not meet up with me. So look, man, 33 years old, you are getting up there. I'm not going to lie to you. I remember when I started getting into approaching women and game and everything, I guess I was in my mid-20s, and I either had coaches say to me or read online like a man reaches his peak at 35 years old. But I don't really believe that to be true anymore. I definitely had... Now, there's a lot of factors at play here. It's not just my own age, maybe, that have made things difficult. It could be society has changed or whatever. But I do think I had my peak of success in like my late 20s. I think once you go past 30, there are more girls that just don't want to date you. That's just the way it is. That's what I've experienced. Especially if we start thinking about age gaps. Of course, a nice big age gap between you and your girlfriend is very nice. But certainly I do believe that a lot of 22, 23, 24-year-olds aren't really going to be interested in dating a guy who's 33. Some will. Of course, me at 33 would not be approaching 33-year-old women, and I would still have some success. But I do think that the dating pool gets a bit smaller. On the flip side of that, in my experience, the best age group to find a girlfriend from is like late 20s. So basically from 25 to 29. So that's a good thing for you. You're 33 years old. I think most 29, 28-year-olds would be fine dating a 33-year-old and even a lot of 25-year-olds, maybe even most. So that's good. But yes, your pool does get smaller. You're right to feel some pressure. I totally get it. Especially when you bring up about having kids and you've been a fence sitter. Well, if you want some, then starting to date a 26 or 27-year-old is a great path to get there. And it's not that you're super old right now. It's just that, you're not getting any younger. None of us are. So a 26, 27-year-old now, probably okay with dating a 33-year-old. But this is like assuming that you find a good one today who you like enough and she likes you enough and you want to have kids with her. Realistically, that's probably not going to happen today or tomorrow. It's probably going to take some time and dating a few girls and just going through the normal dating process of, do I like this girl or not? So it could take a few more years from here. I don't want to be overly optimistic. So maybe when you're 36 or 37, then you find a girl who's 26, 27, and you both like each other and you want to have kids, but maybe she decides, you know what, this guy is like too old for me. I don't want to do that. I got to cut this off right now. It's possible. So if you found a girl right now in that age range, that'd be great, but it's just unlikely to happen immediately. And of course, with how I mentioned, it's good to have a nice large age gap. Finding a 26-year-old when you're 37 would be better in a lot of ways than finding a girl that age when you're 33. It's just less likely to happen then. Say that you're searching for a 26-year-old. Every year that you get older, there's less and less girls that are 26 years old that will be open to dating you. It's just the way that it is. Another big problem here is that you don't know what you want. And I'm not saying that I always knew what I wanted from dating either. But you say you're out of back-to-back relationships, you've got a bit of pressure to find somebody. Then later in your post, you say that the happiest you ever were is when you were 28 years old, single, and just enjoying your own company. How do you get back there? I mean, it's easy to go back there. You can just stop dating and hang out with yourself. If that's what you want to do and that's what'll make you happy, then great. That wouldn't make me happy though. So I don't think it's a good mindset to approach dating from if you're interested in finding a girlfriend and having kids at some point, to just say to yourself, I liked it the best when I was just alone and 28 years old and had no girls to hang out with. You can see that there's just a huge gap there. You say you can't shake the feeling of pressure that you're running out of time. That's a biological thing. Luckily for us guys, that's a lot stronger in women than us. But yeah, totally. These people in the comments saying that you have 40 years. I mean, when you're 70 years old, do you think you're going to be able to find a 27-year-old that wants to have kids with you? I think it's very unlikely. Could you find a 50-year-old that wants to date you? 20 years younger, I guess that's a pretty good age gap, but she's not going to be capable of having kids at that point. So you don't have 40 years. Also, back to the thing I said about how guys told me that like 35 years old is your peak. This guy says that he objectively looks the best he ever has. I don't believe you. Maybe you have really good genes and maybe that is true. But I would say that most 26-year-old girls would have liked how you looked more when you were 26 or 27. Again, it's not all as simple as that because a lot of girls do like a guy who's a couple years older, or specifically want one that's a couple of years older. So maybe they wouldn't have dated you when they were 26 and if you're 26 at the same time. But I'm just saying, I would bet that you would have more dating success when you were 26, for example, than when you're 33. I've been thinking about this a little bit lately as I'm in my 30s now, and I used to do a lot more traveling around the world when I was in my 20s. And there was a few hostels I stayed at over the years, and there'd be a lot of us in our 20s that are young and traveling. We've got our whole lives ahead of us. And it just seemed there'd always be like this one guy who's like 35 years old, and I would just think to myself, what is he doing here? Like, you just don't belong here. That's not to say if I wanted to do that right now in my life, of course I would go do it. I wouldn't care what anybody else thinks. But I just see that gap of like, I don't know, even back then, I couldn't describe it as well as I can now. But it's like, it's kind of sad. Like, what are you doing at 35 years old staying in a hostel? Like, I would expect you to have some kind of money built up right now where you don't need to stay in hostels at this age. You should be able to afford a private room for yourself and not have to deal with the inconveniences that come with staying at a hostel with a bunch of people in their 20s. Like, it's time to grow up somewhat. You can still travel, but why is this guy who's 10 years older than all of us hanging out at this hostel? It's just a bit strange. So you finally say you're looking for a bit of advice to put your mind at ease and make the most of the situation you're in. I don't know if what I've said will put your mind at ease, but I hope it's a bit of a reality check compared to what everyone else in the comments is saying. I'm just trying to tell you what I think from my experience. But if you want to make the most of the situation that you're in, I think you do need to get kind of clear about what you're looking for from dating. For me, it's always been like, yeah, I'm just going to try to date as many girls as possible, basically. And if I run into one that I like, I'm not going to get rid of her just because I don't want this to turn into anything more. No, I'll keep hanging out with her as long as she's fun. So that's just the approach that I would give anybody. You don't need to rush into finding a girl that you want to have kids with or anything, but date some girls, keep them around if you like them, see where it goes. Okay, let's move on to post number 4 for this episode. I'll have to check my schedule. I've been seeing this girl for about 5 months. She lives an hour away and works a lot, so we probably only see each other twice a month. I haven't seen her in 3 weeks now, and I asked if she'd be interested in getting dinner somewhere that's halfway between us any day she's free. And her response was, I'll have to check my schedule this week. Work is going to be a little crazy. It's been a few days and she hasn't mentioned the idea of dinner again or any alternative plans. Given that we've been going on dates for 5 months, would you see this as low interest from her? Maybe I'm looking too much into it, but I would at least expect her to express interest in getting together at this point, even if she's busy. Your last sentence there starts with maybe I'm looking into it too much, and I think you are. I know you're asking for advice, so you're not necessarily jumping to a conclusion, but most of the comments are just saying she's not interested, she's not making you a priority, she'd make time for someone that she's crazy about. Huge overreactions. There actually is one good comment though, which I'll get to in a few minutes. But first of all, when you invite a girl out, of course the best response is for her to say yes, or here's the days that I'm free, yes, let's meet up. But if she says, I'll have to check my schedule this week, work is going to be a little crazy, that's not the end of the world. This can still work out fine. I've definitely had girls over the years that say that to me, whether it's a girl that I'm trying to meet for the first time or if I've been dating her for a few months like you have with this girl. Definitely doesn't mean it's over and that she doesn't want to meet again. Could it mean that? Yeah, sure. But it's not that cut and dry at all. After that, the way you've written your post implies that you have been messaging back and forth a bit, but she hasn't brought up the idea of getting dinner this week like you had asked her. Remember this, people are just bad at making plans. I've definitely learned that in my dating life. You've got to be the one to make things happen. So if you've asked her out, she's given this response of, yeah, I'll get back to you later. Now it's a few days later and you still haven't gotten a response. You need to ask her, go ahead. I think guys avoid doing this because they don't want to seem needy or something. But we have the options here of asking her if she's going to go on the date, in which case she'll either say, yes, we can go on this day, or she could kick the can down the road again. And maybe that means she's actually not interested, or she could say, no, I can't do it this week, whatever. Or you can not ask and you can stay in this troubled and confused state of mind that you have of, is she interested? Are we going to meet or what? Send that message. Get the answer. You've given her a bit of time. Okay, she says, I'll check in a few days. Work's going to be crazy. That's fine. You've given her the few days to figure it out, and she hasn't. So you've got stuff to do. You've got other people to meet. Message her and ask what's up. That way, if you know that you're not going to meet her, you can go and meet somebody else. Your message can seriously just be, so are you going to be able to meet this week? And that's it. The one comment down here, which I actually agree with, goes like this. When this happens, you need to match and mirror her behavior, which in this case, it means you prioritize her less, not necessarily shut the door and talk to new girls and going out on dates with those girls. You don't put all your eggs in one basket, you keep your options open and date others who have more time for you. If she loses you to those girls eventually, then that's her problem for not prioritizing you earlier. That kind of advice is not useful only in this situation, it's useful in your whole dating life. I'm personally always dating girls like 2 and 3 weeks between meetings, but you say that in your original post that you only see each other twice a month, whereas for me, that's like totally normal. So although I agree with this comment in theory, I disagree with the part about how you need to match and mirror her behavior. I'm saying that you should be doing this yourself from the beginning. Don't give any girl such a high priority. Of course, things can change if you get more serious, but that's not what I'm talking about right now. Talk to new girls and go on dates with other girls. Yeah, that's perfect. I also always say don't break up with a girl until you have a new one around. But for me, it's like I always have a few different girls around that I'm meeting regularly. So if one drops off, whether she does something that I don't like and I don't want to see her anymore, or she wants to stop seeing me for whatever reason, I still have a girl in my life who's going to be providing me with sex. Of course, sometimes I get caught without a girl, but I'm always searching for new ones because I know that these things don't really last forever. So absolutely send the message to this girl of, hey, can you meet this week? And if she says no, then that's fine. No matter what she says, be dating and talking to other girls. And if you like her enough that you want to still keep pursuing her a bit, we can message her next week or in a couple weeks when you're already talking to other girls and say, hey, are you free this week? Let's meet up. That's how to do it. I mean, that's how I always approach dating. There's absolutely no, this girl, I meet with her twice a month, so now I can't meet any other girls. Absolutely not. Keep your options open. And this might be low interest behavior from her, but it doesn't really matter. She can change next week. This is how girls are. Their minds change all the time. Maybe she actually doesn't want to meet you anymore, and that's what I have to check my schedule means. But she could change her mind next week if you ask her out. And she'll say, you know what, I actually do like that guy, and now I feel kind of lonely. I don't have any other guys in my life, so yeah, I am going to meet him. And back to that comment, he also mentions not shutting the door. Yeah, I totally agree with. I never end things clearly with girls. I might stop messaging them, I might stop asking them on dates, but I'm never going to say, hey, I can't meet you anymore. Very, very rarely have I ever done anything like that. So get out and meet some more girls. You wouldn't be as troubled about this situation if you had 1 or 2 other girls that you were also regularly meeting up with. Okay, it's time for the final post of this episode. Dating strategy for the inexperienced. I just turned 39 and I'm entirely inexperienced at dating/sex. I'm really not super bothered by it, but obviously I realize it's unusual and sometimes considered a red flag. I've dabbled with the apps and was thinking of ramping up my efforts, but a question keeps bugging me. Should I be upfront about my situation and try to find someone who's cool with it, or should I hide it and just try to date? I've gotten a couple of matches, which was maybe encouraging, but I felt like I was pretending to be normal while chatting. Hiding it feels like waiting for a bomb to drop because anyone, friends, whoever, I've told reacted by being shocked and treating it like a big deal, and I know I wouldn't be able to hide it for long. I've tried things like Virgin R4R, which, by the way, I believe is a subreddit in which virgins sign up trying to find another virgin to have sex with. to find somebody to possibly gain experience with, but conversations always fizzle out, and every woman I meet in real life is taken. I really prefer the route of getting the big news out of the way early so it's not hanging over everything. People often advise to lie about it, fake it till you make it, but honesty is just so much easier, especially with the right person. I'm debating whether to mention it on my profiles, or maybe try a mixed approach, mention it on some, not on others, to see how it affects likes/matches. What do you guys think? Any experience with being a late starter and approaching this dilemma? It's posts like this that make me really think guys just give up way too much information and speak way too much on their dates. Of course the answer is to lie about it. No girl wants to hear that you're a virgin at 39 years old. I want to skip to the part here where he says people often advise to lie about it, but honesty is just so much easier. So of course I said as well to lie about it. But in what situation do you believe that it's going to be brought up and it's something that you need to lie about? I'm going to assume like you haven't had any dates in the past, I don't know, maybe your whole adult life. So you probably haven't been on a date. Are you thinking that girls are just going to ask you, hey, are you a virgin or do you have a lot of experience or what? Like that's never going to get asked to you. So there's not even a reason to lie about it. You're saying that honesty is so much easier, but not mentioning anything is not lying and it's not honesty. It's just omitting it. If a girl asked you, hey, are you a virgin? I would advise to lie, but no one's going to ask that. So I think you're totally overthinking this. Just let them think that you're a normal guy. Of course, there's such thing as being too normal as well, but this is an area that you want to be normal in. Let them think that you've had the normal, acceptable amount of sexual experience that the average 39-year-old man would have. If you start dating a girl and then you have sex with her and then maybe she meets your friends sometime who you've already told that you're a virgin, and then they tell her, well, that's fine, let her deal with that in that situation. It's nothing you lied about. You just didn't tell her that you're a virgin. She doesn't need to know. One of the top comments here says, I don't see anything wrong with putting it on your profile. How could you not? It's not a good thing. I will caution, even though girls don't ask you if you're a virgin or how many girls you've slept with, some girls will ask me how many girlfriends I've had, and that's fine, I'll answer that. Because personally, the amount of real, genuine girlfriends that I've had is an acceptable number, but the amount of girls that I slept with is not acceptable at all. So if a girl ever asks you that, well, you might have to answer honestly. You don't have to, but maybe you will decide it's better to answer that honestly. I would recommend lying as much as like, well, I've dated girls here and there, but I never really had a real girlfriend, never really met a girl that I like enough. That's a lot more normal than saying, no, I've never had sex and I've never had a girlfriend, even though I've been an adult for 20 years. You also mentioned that on the matches that you've gotten on the apps, you felt like you were pretending to be normal while chatting. You probably are normal besides this fact that you're a virgin at 39. Well, maybe you have some personality traits that have brought you to this situation. I don't know about that. But if you're just having a conversation with a girl on a dating app, you are normal. There's nothing that you're hiding. The girl doesn't need to know, and you're not lying by not telling her. Okay, that's it for this episode of You Don't Know Anything About Women. Make sure you check out the link in the show notes if you want to get in touch with me or if you want to support the show. I'll see you next time.